Hello everybody, welcome to Championship Matchweek 37. Yet another free game week coming at you, and we head to yet another batch of games. So, just to quickly cover on last week, Liam got 8 points to my 7, so Liam takes the victory for the week, but the gap's been reduced to 14. Liam is on 233, I'm on 247, so a good weekend for Liam, but more to do. Now, let's go on to this week, shall we? I will start off first this week, and we start off with Leicester versus Bristol City. Leicester picking up a good point last time at Portman Road, compared to Bristol City, who lost at home to Coventry. I look at this one and I feel like, in my mind earlier today, I had this as a draw. But doing my predictions not long ago, something about it just changed my mind, and I'm going to go with a 2-0 Bristol City win.
That would make 31 games without a clean sheet for Leicester. I do think it will be that amount of time. When does that take us back to? September, late September, I think. So that's a hell of a record, but not a positive one. Um, uh, See, I don't know because these are two sides bang out of form. Bristol City's season's done. Let's be real. Leicester scrapping at the bottom. They're a bit fortunate to get a point at Ipswich. Um, I make this mistake a lot, but I'm going to back a Leicester home win, and I'm going to say 2-1.
I just think something tells me it's going to be a frustrating one for Leicester City. Now, let's move on to two teams who have done well this season. Both teams in or around the playoffs. It's Millwall versus Derby.
Both teams, yeah, as you mentioned, in the playoff fight. Millwall more in an automatic fight. But they're absolutely flying at the moment. Millwall um, got a bit lucky at Hull. The storm in that one. Derby's defence very, very cagey at the moment. Um, has been a problem all year. But Millwall one defeat in 8, and that was a home game. But I, I think this will be a game of goals. But I'm going to say 3-1 home win.
I think this will be quite a close one, to be honest. Derby very good on the road, Millwall very good at home. I just think all signs point to a very close, narrow win. In terms of who will win, I feel like it will be the hosts. 2-1. And now we head to the south coast, where Portsmouth take on Swansea. A pretty unfortunate result for Portsmouth last time around, and Swansea with a very good win last time around. I look at this one and I feel like it's a close one to call. Portsmouth pretty poor at home recently, but on you look at this fixture and think maybe this could be one that they could win. I think I'm going to go and back the home side here, 1-0.
Swansea do not travel well. Um, Portsmouth, you mentioned, not great at home. I do fear for them because, with all due respect to Swansea, this is probably, before the international break, Portsmouth's kindest game on paper. Um, so if they don't win this, I do fear for them in the next two games. Uh, I just I can't see them scoring any more than one goal at the moment. If they score two or three, then that'll shut me up. But I just, they're not playing badly, but they're not picking up results, and I'm gonna say it's gonna be the exact same thing, 1-1.
Alright, and now we move to Sheffield Wednesday versus Watford.
Yeah, a lot of sides have won at Hillsborough, more than Sheffield Wednesday have this season. I'm not going to make the same mistake as I have been a lot of the time this season. While it was very briefly tempting to back Wednesday, um, I can't do it. I can't do it anymore. They did play fairly well, considering they're playing just for pride now. Last Saturday, but I'm gonna give them a goal, but I'm gonna give Watford the 3 points. 1-2.
Yeah, I feel like with Sheffield Wednesday, like they're down there for a reason. Like I know they've been through a lot, but this is still probably a very poor season. Probably the worst championship season we have ever seen by a long margin. Them not leaving the negatives yet, and probably won't leave the negatives, tells you all you need to know. I look at this and I feel like it's just going to be more of the same, to be honest. 0-2 to Watford. And now we move on to Wrexham versus Hull. Oof. Two teams in the playoffs. And Wrexham is the home side here. Hull, they lost last time around. And Wrexham, they did alright in the cup against Chelsea, but they ultimately got knocked out. Now, I look at this game and I think Wrexham being at home, a good performance against Chelsea, taking the lead a couple of times against Chelsea. I feel like when you compare Chelsea and Hull, there's obviously quite a difference, and Wrexham will come away with the 3 points this time. 2-1.
Yeah, 2-1 was that?
Correct.
Yeah, I don't mind that. Is Hull's bubble best in 3 defeats in 5? There were 2 wins in that, but they've only drawn 6 games this season, Hull. If this is a draw, I I feel it's a worse result for Hull than it is for Wrexham. Obviously, Wrexham is 6th, currently 3 points above 7th place Derby with a game in hand, 4 above Southampton and 8th. So yeah, I feel like it would be a worse result for Hull because their goal difference is significantly lower than every team in the top 8. So if the whole bubble is bursting, this could be a terrible result and not help them in the slightest. 3-2 Wrexham.
I just think Wrexham as a squad have got a lot more momentum to them than Hull. I think like if Wrexham lose this, I feel like it won't be catastrophic for them and they'll just bounce back. With Hull, I'm just not sure. I'm just not convinced by them at the moment. Alright, and now we move on to Stoke versus Ipswich.
I feel like Wrexham Hull. In fact, I feel like the majority of these games would have been a better watch than Stoke Ipswich for pick for the main game. I think. Just Stoke are back to being Stoke, aren't they? 15th now. Remember when they were second and everyone's saying Stoke are back, Stoke are back? Yeah, that didn't last very long, did it? 0-0.
Yeah, I think not just Stoke, I feel like Ipswich as well are dropping points where they shouldn't drop points. And they do it a little bit far too much this season. I'm not saying they're out of the playoffs, automatics race yet, but these are the games against Leicester where you need to be winning if you want to stay in contention of the automatics. I know they have a game in hand on Middlesbrough, but because of that draw against Leicester, they're now, what's that, 5 points behind Middlesbrough. And that gap will increase if they keep dropping points. And you know what? I know Stoke haven't been the best recently, but I just see Ipswich dropping points. I'm going to go Stoke 2, Ipswich 1. And now on to Birmingham versus QPR. QPR, what an abysmal performance that was against Middlesbrough. Getting tonked 4-0 at home, I think you need to brush yourself off and go again. Birmingham, they lost at Charlton, which is also a pretty poor result. Um, Now I look at this one, who's going to bounce back? I think because Birmingham's at St Andrews, I'm going to back them 2-1.
Uh, Yet again, QPR, their season is also done. They got no chance in hell at the playoffs. Um, they're not going to go down. I think QPR, Stoke, Swansea, Preston, Bristol City. I know there's Birmingham and Sheffield United in between those, but their seasons, I think, call it off, and they wouldn't mind. Um, so, yeah, I think Birmingham need to bounce back in this game because if they don't, it could very well be 6 defeats in 6. Because they could very well struggle against Sheffield United on Saturday, and then they have a, a half-12 game at Pride Park against Derby, who are improving at home. So if they don't win this could be very, very bad. Voice crack. Very, very bad for Birmingham. I do see them winning this, but yeah, I'm concerned for Birmingham's next couple of games. I'm going to say 1-0.
Yeah, I feel like with Birmingham, the gap between them and the playoffs are getting quite big now. And I see online that quite a few Birmingham fans aren't happy, rightly so, because they have spent quite a lot of money, and I feel like they should be in or around the playoffs, but they're just not showing that sort of consistency. But you'd think they'd have a strong finish to the season, but I don't know with Birmingham, to be honest. Now for Middlesbrough versus Charlton.
I think Charlton need one more win, and I think they're just about safe. Maybe 2. It depends if Oxford, the likes of Oxford and Leicester, can start winning. Because I think West Brom, who are currently 21st, I think they're done. I really do. Um, I need to stop having voice cracks because it's winding me up. Yeah, West Brom are done. Leicester picking up points here and there. Oxford have won the last 2, so that's why I think Charlton need probably 2 wins. But they're looking better. They're looking pretty decent. 9 points clear of 22nd. I don't see them winning at the Riverside. I don't see them scoring either. But I don't think this matters, this game, to Charlton. This matters a lot more to Middlesbrough. Um, so I think Charlton will be looking at fixtures to come. I think this is a bit of a free hit, this one. So I'm going to say 2-0 to the home side.
I can't lie, I think that's a very reasonable prediction. Obviously, Championship, anybody can beat anyone. But I just think with that 4-0, I look at Middlesbrough's last 2 games, they've scored 7 goals. And I just think for someone like Charlton, you're looking at that and thinking, oh god, they're scoring goals. And I can't lie, I'm going to back Middlesbrough to score another 3 here. Middlesbrough 3, Charlton 0 is my prediction.
Yeah, Charlton must be fearing that because you mentioned the 7 goals. They were both away from home. So if they can score 7 in 2 away games, God knows what they can do at home Wednesday night.
Yeah, but we all know it's going to be like 1-0 Charlton something in the end after doing all these predictions. Alright, now for Norwich versus Sheffield United. Norwich, they didn't play, Sheffield United, they drew against West Brom. I think it's been both seasons have been a bit meh, and I feel like both teams don't have a lot to play for. Uh, but I feel like at Carrow Road, I feel like it's a relatively safe bet to back Norwich at the moment. They have they were originally quite poor at Carrow, but they seem to have picking up form at home, and that's why I have predicted a 2-0 win to Norwich.
Yeah, I think Norwich are just going to be more grateful than anything. The fact that they're not down there really scrapping at the bottom anymore. You could say the same about Sheffield United, but I think they're a bit more disappointed they haven't made a late push for the playoffs. I think they could, and I'm going to look at Sheffield United's running. They obviously have Norwich, but then they're away at Birmingham. They host Wrexham, and they still have Hull, Watford, and Derby to play, who are all pushing up at the top. So if they are going to make a late push, they need to do it now. There's no two ways about it. They need to beat Norwich. But yeah, the incredible resurgence under Philippe Clement will continue. 1-0 Norwich.
Alright, and now for another big game at the bottom, Oxford versus Blackburn.
Oh dear. Uh, I don't know how Blackburn managed to score on Saturday. They did nothing from like the 5th minute onwards. Uh, I'm going to say 3-3 for Oxford, 2-0.
Would you say Blackburn is in a position of, if we can't win, don't lose? Because
I think every game now is a must not lose for Blackburn, but that point on Saturday did not help them in the slightest. So, who's at home? Oxford. Yeah, I think this is a must not lose, but with Blackburn's upcoming fixtures, I think Millwall might be a bit of a write off. However, they still have a couple of favourable games. I suppose they're at home to West Brom and Leicester in their run-in, so and away to Stoke. So I think they're must wins, but yeah, a lot of these are must not losers. So um, yeah, it's Blackburn not great, not in a great position.
I look at Blackburn and I think, Saturday, that was a much-win game. They might look at this one and think, must not lose. If they lose this one, I think they are in great trouble. If they draw this one, I think Blackburn will get quite a few scrappy draws and do enough. I think that's my prediction. But Oxford obviously showing some really good resurging form, and they look like the team who is staying up based on the form. They did briefly pop their head out of the relegation zone on Saturday, but obviously the other results meant they are back to 23rd, but it's very, very narrow now between West Brom and Oxford. And you know what? I'm going to have Oxford to leapfrog Leicester. You don't know my West Brom predictions yet, but they're going to leapfrog Leicester, and with a vital 2-1 win. Alright, and now for West Brom. So with West Brom, obviously they're still without their much needed win. It needs to happen now. Now I look at this one and I think it's against the Southampton side, who are chasing the playoffs and had a very good win in the FA Cup. They are in the quarter-finals, Southampton, and I don't know. I look at games where West Brom could win. I mean, it's at the Hawthorns, anything is possible, but they've just been so woeful this season in general. Like, out West Brom out of a side is probably the worst I've seen, and I'm trying to give them points. I'm going to be generous here. I'm going to say 1-1.
Um, see, I'm wondering that it's all well and good Southampton being in the FA Cup quarters, but I'm wondering, is that going to affect their run-in? Quarterfinals will be played the weekend, Easter weekend. I think that's what this says anyway. Um, so I'm thinking, is that going to falter the run-in? Um, let's be real. It's probably there are a couple of teams with an outside chance, um, but it's probably for sixth place. Unless Hull lose against Wrexham, it's probably a three-horse race. You've got Wrexham, Derby, Southampton, and as I said, Watford might have an outside chance. Wrexham win, that's huge for them, and bad for Hull. So I'm wondering, could this FA Cup run negatively impact Southampton? Now, I don't think it will yet, but I'm thinking it's possible. Um, so I'm going to keep a lookout on Southampton's form over the next few weeks. But for Wednesday night, I don't think that'll be an issue. 2-0 to the away side.
Alright, and now for the final game of the week, it's Coventry versus Preston.
Yeah, I think Preston will want to end the season here and now. 3-0 Coventry.
Wow, Preston's gone down the table quite a bit. So they're 13th now, obviously bang out of form, losing to Oxford. Yeah, I don't really see anything outside of a Coventry win, to be honest. I think Preston will keep it close, but not much else to say than Coventry 2-1 win. Now, for the score of the week, I'll go first. So I've predicted 3 Middlesbrough goals against Charlton, and one I'm eyeing up is Morgan Whittaker.
I don't think I've said this player all season, so it's a first for me. Um, I'm thinking he has 8 goals this season, and I'm thinking this could be a game where he absolutely thrives. I mentioned they're flying, and I mentioned they're up against a side who look very cagey at the back again after a bit of better defensive form. So I've gone Millwall's Femi Aziz.
Alright, and now that is it for yet another week, and we shall see you for the weekend games. Bye bye.